Yeah, g'day everyone. This is Nick from Electric Wheels Australia. I've got before me a Vivid hoverboard, which was a Scooter Hut here in Australia, a Scooter Hut product, which they don't sell anymore. And of course, you can't get parts for it. You can't get a battery for it. You get nothing for it now. Same as their E-Glide brand, that was their own brand, and you cannot get parts anymore for it. Once they run out, they don't bother to get spare parts. They just want you to buy a new one, like all big retailers do. But then the customer comes to me and asks for help. So in this case here, they came and said they can't charge it up, and the the hoverboard won't turn on. So I disconnected the battery, checked the voltage across the battery. It should be a minimum. It's a 36 volt nominal voltage battery. Minimum should be about 28. This one's at 4.5 volts, so it's totally dead. So I purchased a new one, which came in last week. And yesterday I connected up the new battery to this connector, and this board fired up beautifully fine, but I hadn't connected up this board. But when I did, I got instant vaporization of the pins. Not great. What I found was that it was short across here, and 9 times out of 10, if there's a failure of a board, it'd be the MOSFETs, right? The high-powered, current-driven transistors that drive the motor, your motors. On the back here, you got 2 strips there, positive, negative, and they showed to be short across there before I removed the MOSFETs, which are sitting there now. And what I found is that if I turn them around relative to how the board is positioned, what I found was that this back pane, all right, it's metal, is also connected to the middle one, but should not be short to either of those. And it was that one and that one was short, and that told me straight away that this MOSFET had failed. And usually what happens, because one is sitting in like a totem pole connected to each other, if one goes short and there's a crazy amount of current is driven through this one, it will destroy this one as well. And it'll just go short. So one affected the other. I have checked the other 4 and they're fine. And then I checked across those 2 strips there, and they're not short anymore, and it's not short across there. The only other component I would, if once I've put the new ones in, which is going to take about 10 days to arrive, and I solder them in, but I also accidentally, the hot air gun that I use did blow that one just a little bit, that little resistor to one side. So when I put these on, I'll adjust that, reposition it, and it should be good again. Once I put these 2 MOSFETs back in, the new ones, then I'll check these MOSFET drivers to make sure that there's no short across between the positive and negative again. I'm not sure, but they would be getting a power supply separate from these MOSFETs. So if they've got a short across them, all 3, then there'll be a problem with a diode or something like that. But generally speaking, 99% of the time, it's just the MOSFETs that fail. They just get overdriven, get too hot or whatever, and then bang, they short, they're gone. These terminals here are to the motor. They, generally speaking, don't get affected by shorts at all. They really don't, because the current just flows through the MOSFET. So once I've done that, once I've replaced those 2, and I'll desolder and replace that connector, and also this one, I'll cut that off and put a new one on with a bit of heat shrink on the back pins, and then connect it all up connect up to the battery after I make sure there's still no short, and go from there. I could say that would be it. I do think it would be it, as in like repaired. I don't, as a general rule, test the boards, apart from, as I said, the MOSFETs, and possibly if there seems to be a bit of a problem, I may check the drivers, but generally speaking, drivers never failed. Touch wood. Yeah, touch wood. And she should be good to go thereafter. Now, I normally charge to do all that, to fix that. I could either, there's cheapy hoverboards, real cheap ones from, I think, a company called Hoverboards Australia, something like that. They got cheapy ones, and some of those models there, I can install these generic boards into them, because they are generic hoverboards and they fit perfectly into them. In this case, it doesn't. These are specialized boards made by someone. I haven't been able to find who they are, which company, and where to find those boards, or even who manufactures these hoverboards. Am I going to? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to waste my time. I've got a lot of work to do, so most likely the basic search I've done is sufficient for me. If I find that there is other problems with the boards, I'm just going to turn around and say, no, I can't fix it for you. It's time wasting to try and fix a circuit board like that on these, relatively speaking, cheap hoverboards. You're better off selling it for parts on Marketplace, the Vivid ones. But more than likely, the people that need them have also got boards that don't work either. So if you've got a hoverboard and you've got problems with it, and you intend to open up to have a look, and you're asking people on Facebook groups that you got, how to fix it, and you got no idea what's wrong with it, the first thing you should have got already before you ask questions is a multimeter, just a generic one. Even if you're into cars, and you do electrical work on cars, and if you don't have a current meter like this, and you also got to make sure it's got, it's a bit dark in here, the connections for probes. That's what you need before you even bother to ask anyone, because no one will know. If you don't know even the basics of what's wrong, i.e. whether battery voltage is too high, too low, you'll be able to, with the multimeter, check those MOSFETs. There's plenty of YouTube videos on how to check a MOSFET, or even the motor cables, or the plug-in on the board from the motor to the board, and you can check these as well using a multimeter. They're critical. These fellas here are 99% of the time at fault for any failures on circuit boards. Okay, so just be aware that very, very rarely does a motor fail, especially the 3 phases, right? That's where the high voltages come into it. The 36 volts, and it's pulsed. Each one is pulsed, so that gets pulsed, and that one, and then repeats itself. Okay, now Hall sensors, there may be Hall sensors in the motor, but from what I can see, let me have a look here. Get out of the way. Yep. Alright, so those ones that are connected to the Hall sensors inside the motor. What do the Hall sensors do? They're little tiny chips. Alright, they're probably very similar size to those ones. Don't look like that, but very similar size to that. I've got some up there somewhere. I don't know where I've got them. But anyway, those Hall sensors can also fail. They're only 5 volts, okay? And if any other voltage, like the battery voltage or the motor voltage, touches them, they'll instantly get destroyed. and that would mean having to replace either motor or actually open it up to replace the hall sensors. That's a bit of a job. But with the multimeter, you can check that as well. You can actually check to see if your hall sensors are damaged as well across the pins. Again, there's YouTube on how to check your hall sensors on a scooter or bike or whatever. But you must have a multimeter. Okay, guys? I'll leave it at that and have a good day. Bye for now.